Howdy y'all, Caleb here. Are you ready for a 2v2 battle? Yes. This was a lot of fun. I like playing team games, and here we're going to have an order versus chaos. So we've got a 2v2 battle using the new coalition of something or other. I can't remember what it's called. Rules in GHB 2020. And so we're going to run through that and see how we did, what list we took, and have some fun. All right, so my list I'm taking a Skaventide list. This is the first list for Chaos, and I'm taking obviously each army is going to be 1,000 points for each person in each army, so 2,000 versus 2,000 in the end. So my 1,000 points of Skaventide are a Grey Seer on Screaming Bell, and he is Master Clan. This is basically a Pestilence list, but since he's my general, he could be a Master Clan. He's going to take command trait of Verminous Valor, which means he can pass off a wound on a 5-up to the Plague Monks that are around him. And Lore of Rune, Death Frenzy, which I think I forgot to use that spell the entire game. And then a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, and I'm giving him my artifact of Liber Bubonicus, which gives him an extra couple of prayers. Since he is a Plague Priest, he does get to use the Plague Priest spell twice. So he basically has 3 spells that he can cast. I'm those really just trying to roll for the Great Plagues with him. And then I've got 2 units of 40 Plague Monks each with the Woe Staves. It comes out to an even 1,000 points. So that's my list. A lot of units there with the Plague Monks, and then 2 big support heroes that go along with it that are pretty tough to take down on their own and have some good buffs and synergy with the army. My teammate is taking his Nurgle Airborne list, and this one is in the Host of Chaos Munificent Wanderers. He's got his Lord of Afflictions with command trait One Last Gift and artifact the Muck Talon, and then he's got 3 units of 2 Pusgoyle Blight Lords, and the Battalion Affliction Cyst that goes along with that. And so this thing is going to be basically deploying off the board and deep striking somewhere. So our army of chaos here is Plague Monks are holding the line, and Nurgle is going to deep strike somewhere, try to tie him up. He's also got 3 Nurglings in there just to kind of do some movement shenanigans if he can pop up early in the game with those guys, maybe snag an objective. He comes in at 980 with a good 62 wounds. Oh, how many wounds was my Skaventide? 106 wounds at 1,000 points. Not too bad. That was coming in small. So the order teams are coming in with a Cities of Sigmar list. That's going to be real blurry there. But that's what the screen cap I got. He's got a Dreadlord on Black Dragon in his living city. And he's got the Iron Oak Artisan command trait. And he's got Spear of the Hunt on that Black Dragon. And what he does with this is in Living City, this thing can move all the way across the board, basically. It can move, shoot, and move again, then charge. And so it has a ton of movement. You can't, and the thing flies, and it fights first. With Spear of the Hunt, if it charges you, it'll fight first. So this thing you're never safe from it. It can move all the way across the board. It can grab objectives. It can hit first. So it's a good little piece. The Celestant Prime in this list that's pretty nice. He's taking the Celestant Prime, which you leave up in the sky. As many rounds as you leave him in the sky, he continues to get more and more attacks, and he hits like a freight train when he comes down. So he's also got 2 units of Handgunners and a unit of Shadow Warriors. And then he's bringing an extra command point because he will be using a lot of command points on this army to make sure and move and shoot kind of stuff. So there's the Cities of Sigmar list. And let's go to the next one. We've got a Fyreslayers list. It's in Hermdar. He's got the Auric Rune Father with Warrior Indominate and Tyrant Slayer, and a Rune Smiter. And that Rune Smiter is going to tunnel with the 20 Hearthguard Berserkers with the pole axes, and he's got another 15 Hearthguard Berserkers with broad axes. So even at 1,000 points, you can fit in a ton of Berserkers, and those guys are pretty scary when they get in combat. If you can't take out the heroes, then you're in for a world of hurt. But if you can take out those heroes, maybe you can deal with those guys. So So those are our lists. We got Cities of Sigmar and Fyreslayers versus Nurgle and Skaventide. The coalition matrix here. I don't know if you've seen this before, but each unit or each army has different viability with other armies. So they could play either they play nice or they don't play nice, and it has different effects. And so you can kind of see here, whether you're a battle forge, that basically means there's no disadvantage to pairing these two armies up together. Fractus means there's going to be slight disadvantages, and desperate coalition means you basically can't even walk near each other in this army. So it turns out Cities of Sigmar and Fyreslayers, they have no restrictions because Skaven basically hates everybody and is treacherous to everybody. With Nurgle, they are a Fractus coalition, and so we did lose our first command point in this game for the first battle round, so we are going to have to do that. We are playing Border Wars from 2019, which is still available for 2020 book. So we are doing Border Wars. On this one, your own objective is worth 1. The middles are worth 2, and the opponents, if you can grab that one, is worth 4. So that's what we're playing. And now we'll get to deployment. So we see here deployment. We did beat them on deployment by maybe 1 or 2 drops, I think, because of that battalion with Nurgle really helped a lot. I set up the Grey Seer with the bell over here on the left side, and these Plague Monks are going to be heading towards that objective. And then hopefully, once we secure that one, push forward up that way. My other unit of Plague Monks and the Furnace are going to try to hold back here. He's got a lot of deep strike stuff. He can deep strike in the Berserkers and the Shadow Warriors, so I don't want to commit too much. Because if he deep strikes with those, especially with the Berserkers on that unit, it could be bad news, especially if he makes a charge. So they do have a lot up in the sky, but so do we. So they're playing a little defensive, as are we. All the Nurgle stuff went in the sky. They're going to be coming down in our turn, and his Nurglings are up in the sky as well. One of the downsides of this Skaven list is I don't really have a lot of flexibility. Like, I basically can take 2 objectives and that's it. These guys have got to stay with their support pieces, and the support pieces can't operate on their own. And so if I lose either one of those, then those heroes are stuck. They have to be pushed by the rats. So I am a little limited. The Nurgle list is a lot more flexible. They can fly, they can move, they can deep strike, they can ambush. So we're going to have to play around with that. The other team, the Order team, put some handgunners here and here. Those are going to come up to these objectives. He's got his Black Dragon here and 1 unit of Fyreslayers with the hero. So Prime, the 20 Hearthguard Berserkers, and one of the heroes is off the board, as well as the Shadow Warriors. We did outdrop them, so we let them go first. And they take turn 1. Oh, just some army pictures. So there's the rats set up, the monks. And I love this conversion here. He's got a Carnosaur body, a Stardrake head, I think Stardrake wings, and I'm not even sure where this guy comes from, but great looking conversion there for the Black Dragon. And we got our Fyreslayers on the middle with their anvil over here, the forge. And their first turn, you can see they've ambushed in the Fyreslayers on this side. And they're going to try to make the charge here. Pushing these guys up a little bit, but not committing too hard. They do know we have a lot off the table. He leaves about 4 or 5 that are still touching the objective, kind of waiting to answer. His handgunners are heading over this way, but they don't run because they're going to kind of pop a couple shots off at the rats. And these handgunners are taking this objective here. His Black Dragon is kind of waiting back, holding back a turn. Building up some command points and really going to kind of counter punch on where we hit is, I think, their plan. Left the Shadow Warriors, left Prime up in the sky. Luckily, these guys did not make the charge. So he even re-rolled it, spent his command point, and failed that one as well. So if he had made this charge here, we would have been in bad shape with these rats being pinned back against all these Hearthguard Berserkers. He probably would have put some wounds on this guy. We could have passed off quite a few of them. He probably would have been okay. maybe. But we would have lost a lot of rats if he had made that charge. So one of the risks with the tunneling Hearthguard is that they've got a re-rolling chance at it, but no bonuses. So you got to make that charge, or you're kind of stuck out in no man's land. But they do have this objective, and this objective for 5 points at the end of their turn. So there we go. We got 5 points, order columns on the left, chaos columns on the right. You'll see that scorecard pop up a bunch. In our turn, I was able to get a couple prayers off with the furnace, and I was actually in range now, just barely, and I got a Great Plague off, and I used the one, I can't remember the name of it, but you roll a dice for each model in the army, and 6s are mortals. So I rolled 20 dice and got 0 6s. So that wasn't very fun. We didn't remove any that way, but we did get the cracked peel from the bell off, and maybe a something else, a couple spells or something. We were actually able to take off this hero that he had brought in with this. It got just enough damage onto him, and I think I was rolling like a D3 mortals and rolled 3, and that was what ended up killing him off. So that was lucky, because now I can charge in, and I know he's not going to be able to activate a fight first. And so I'm bringing these monks in here. Since we were able to move that hero, that was pretty key there. I think I didn't make a very good charge, and but they were able to get in. Over here on the back, he brought in his Pusgoyle Blightlords. You can see here they're actually corrupted Stormcast. Also some pretty sweet conversions here he's got going. So he's bringing in basically the entire army on this back line, and he's going to push forward into this dragon. If he can get in a couple of charges, he's going to be able to score this objective, because they didn't really leave very many Fyreslayers on this thing, and that dragon is right there for him. He's also going to, I think he was going to try to send one unit over here to the handgunners as well. I did make the charge here, but I didn't get quite as much as I wanted. I think I only made like a 5-inch charge, 6-inch charge, something like that. And I would have really liked to swing even more around this way just to get more rats in, but it turned out it was going to be enough. When they charge, they can hit pretty hard. They have a ton of attacks. And without his hero here, he's only got a 6-up ward save instead of a 4-up ward save. So that really helps out on the damage, especially these guys since they don't have any rend. One thing to note, I forgot to go over this at the beginning, but in this coalition, the team battles, there's a new rule now that says each member of your coalition, so each member of the team gets to activate a unit in combat. So it would be like me and Nurgle get to fight. So Skaven and Nurgle get to fight, 1 unit each, and then Order gets to answer back with Cities of Sigmar and Fyreslayers. So you kind of get to answer back 1 player for each team. And so if you can really work that on your activations, it can really be beneficial. If you can engage both Fyreslayers, he can only activate 1 because you haven't engaged the Sigmar. But if you get both of them, then you activate 2, they activate 2. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic. It really makes you kind of think about what melee you want to get into, because you know that they'll be able to answer twice back after you fight. So we do get quite a few monks in there, and we're able to clear off. I think we killed 13 Fyreslayers in that turn. It was pretty brutal. How many does he have left? Yeah, he has got 7 left there, yeah. So I did lose quite a few monks, but I think it was only like 10. By the time I had activated and killed off a lot of his Fyreslayers, he didn't really hit too hard back after that. Over in the backfield, he had only made 1 unit into the dragon here, and he made 1 into the handgunners there. So he didn't get as many into the target as he wanted to. Because the black dragon hadn't charged, it can't fight first, so we did get to activate against him. And it took off a few wounds, but not really nearly enough that we wanted. He fought back and was able to clear off 1 Pusgoyle Blightlord. And that's fine. We were okay with that because we're trying to tie them up back in their backfield. It would have been nice if we could have scored that one and gotten a nice lead. But being able to tie them up in their own backfield is that's almost as valuable. See what the next picture is here. These two guys were able to clear off those handgunners that were right here, but they weren't in range to score it, so we weren't able to score this objective. He did bring in some Nurglings over on the Nurgle that was over here. That was really the only terrain he could bring them in on and stay with outside a range of 9. So we end up scoring 3 points. We scored, our objective and then the two, not this one. So our objective and the one on the left, because of the monks. And it goes to roll off now. Roll off. We win it barely. Rolled a 2, they rolled a 1. So we are going to take it. I think we have enough chance to maybe take his back objective with those Pusgoyles, and then we needed it to take the one on the right since he's left it unopposed now. We can move on to it with ease. In my hero phase, look at that. Look at that. Yes. The Bell summons in a Vermin Lord, which, in a 1,000-point game, being able to bring in almost 300-point hero here, pretty nice. So we're able to bring in this Vermin Lord, which is a bonus here. I kind of put him over. I could have been more aggressive with him, I think, and put him over this way. But I was worried about him bringing in Prime turn 2 and hitting that Bell. I wanted to try to keep that Bell alive, so I screened this Vermin Lord back here. Probably in retrospect, I should have played him more towards the middle to be a little bit more flexible. But I really didn't want Prime coming down onto my Bell. I was willing to sacrifice the hero I just got for free instead of my Screaming Bell. So these monks are still stuck in combat, so they'll be in combat there this turn. And my big, beautiful Vermin Lord gets summoned in. Over here on his backside, he runs all these guys, the ones that he had left, to make sure they would get in range and summoned a tree so he could run and still charge. Just to make sure he got as many onto the objective as possible. So he got 4, and I think maybe the hero was somewhere. Maybe he went a different direction, but so he's got those into combat here, or maybe that is the hero. It's kind of hard to tell with these conversions, but he's going to try to take off this dragon here. And in combat, so we're able to activate first here in combat. We're able to clear off the rest of those, the rest of the Fyreslayers with these monks. They didn't have nearly as many attacks, but I think it came down to like the very last guy. He took the last wound I had allocated to him, so that was pretty nice there. I used a command point from the Vermin Lord to give him reroll hits, I think. And luckily they were still at 30 rats at the time, so they still had their +1 to hit and wound. Over here you can see he's got this one unopposed now. He's tried to run the Nurglings onto it as well. They were coming off this Nurgle, but got a terrible run roll. I think it was like a 1, and they had to go up and down over the Nurgle, so they didn't quite make it into the objective. I still held these guys back. I didn't want him to have a good target, so I stayed back from here, knowing that this is worth 4 points. He still has Shadow Warriors. He still has Prime. I just wanted to flood this objective, keep it safe as possible here. There wasn't really a good spot for him to bring Prime over this way, so I knew he'd either have to bring him here or here, and he can get him in, but limiting his options here. So we do score 5 points on this one. He didn't, these Pusgoyle Blightlords, they are tough. They have a ton of wounds, they have a lot of durability, but they don't really put out a ton of damage. And so he wasn't able to take out the dragon yet. That was the last picture there. The dragon was able to kill off maybe 1, but didn't do a ton of damage back either. He was pretty bracketed hard. But again, he's keeping them back here in their objective. These guys are going to have to answer. These Fyreslayers are going to have to answer, which means they aren't going to be able to press the objective this way. So his army seems kind of weird because all he's doing is just tying this up, not killing anything. But that's kind of the point: is tie him up, keep him pinned back to where they can't answer out in the field. So we do score 5 points that turn, and into turn 2 for them. He retreats his dragon back off the objective and off those Pusk Oils, just to give the Fyreslayers a nice clean charge target there to where they can hit. He brings in Shadow Warriors over here on this objective, so he can claim that one easy. And Prime comes here in the middle. Prime actually shoots his Comet back towards my Plague Monks over here and takes them under 30 and puts maybe a couple wounds on the Vermin Lord and the Bell. And he still has those handgunners over here. They start pressing forward. I don't have them in the picture. They start pressing forward and snipe off a couple wounds off of my stuff over on that left side. But he is able to get these guys in here to score that objective. And then Prime's going to go in and try to clean up those Pusk Oils. Now, he brought in Prime turn 2, so that means he only had an extra two attacks on him. So he's only coming in with 5 attacks, a total of a possible 15 damage. And so he needs every single one of those damages to go through to clear that blob there. So he does bring in the Fyreslayers around these Pusk Oil Blight Lords and is going to absolutely wreck them. Prime makes it in. The Shadow Warriors, he stayed back with the Shadow Warriors a little bit. I don't think he wanted to get attacked by these Pusk Oil Blight Lords. I think he probably should have sent them in just to clear off the extra wounds. But he was thinking he could get them with Prime. And I don't think he rolled as well with Prime as he was hoping. And he ended up leaving one Pusk Oil Blight Lord up and alive on that objective. So you can see here, this was probably the end of the turn here. We got a couple wounds on the Vermin Lord from these handgunners. They cleared off a couple of those guys and one of those. So Prime didn't roll quite as well as he had wanted. And so left him alive, which was a pretty big deal, because if they got the double turn, got the next turn, now Prime is kind of stuck against that guy because he's got to clear him off, and he's stuck in combat with him. So he can retreat, but then he won't be able to charge. So he's got to clear that guy off. It was nice that guy stuck around. Otherwise, Prime would have probably come over this way and started working on my hero over there. They do win the priority roll, so they get the double turn from 2 to 3. We have the double turn from 1 to 2. They get it from 2 to 3. And there's the scoreboard at the end of turn 2 when they're getting the double turn here. So it's tied up at that point. So you can kind of see the dragon is going to come back in here and charge, so he can fight again, or fight first. And Fyreslayers are still tied up there. It's amazing that those Pusk Oil Blight Lords can survive that long. They do have a lot of wounds and they're tough, but against those Fyreslayers, it's pretty nice. I think those are the ones that have Rend and the Fyreslayers, and the faction that the Nurgle's in reduces Rend by 1, I think. So there we go. In their turn, they were able to clear off the rest of those Pusk Oil Blight Lords. So the Nurgle army is pretty much done. They were able to clear off the one. Maybe he did. Did he not? He may have not cleared off that guy either. Man, I can't believe that. He does still have the Nurglings over there. And these guys were taking some pot shots on that side. But not really. They weren't going to rush in and engage. They were more going to block anything coming this way. So at the end of that turn, they score 3 for their objective and the one on the right. And so now it's our turn to answer back. And I come up, so it's basically just me playing at this point. The Nurgle he's got that one Pusk Oil Blight Lord and some Nurglings, but not a whole lot to happen there. So I'm pushing these rats over to kind of block this area here, and I'm bringing my Vermin Lord. I'm just gonna hope to charge these guys. They'll be able to shoot, but they probably won't do enough damage. He'll probably kill those guys off, make them run, and then that'll kind of create a something he's got to answer either this way or that way. And so that was my strategy there. These guys, I actually ran them and left one within 7 of that tree so that they could get the run and charge from the Nurgle tree, since these guys are Nurgle keyworded. And they were able to get into these Shadow Warriors. And They are just going to obliterate those guys because we have a ton in range. They had their +1 attacks from the prayer. They had +1 attacks from the charge, and they're still full strength. So it was something like, I don't know, 90 attacks or something. He brings in his Nurglings here, and the Puskoil is still tying up Prime as well. So this guy is all by himself now, but it's because I kind of had to shove these guys off that way. That's concerning, but we had to do it because I needed to clear that objective over there and score those points. You can see we got in with those Shadow Warriors, and they'll make quick work of them. I don't think we rolled them. It was just going to be too many attacks, and Prime takes out the Puskoil Blight Lord. I think the model's still there. I'm pretty sure he took him out, but maybe I just didn't get the picture of it. And so that's the end of that turn. We score 5 points. And now we're up by 2, and it's coming into the final roll-off here. So it's a pretty big roll-off because if we win it, if we win the roll-off here, I'm going to send these rats in to clean up Prime, and I'll send this guy to fight there, and might send these guys in there to fight. More than likely, I'll probably keep those guys back. I might try to shove this over this way, just to help hold that objective since it's worth 2. If he gets the turn, I would imagine Fyreslayers, since we don't have any teleporting left or any way to get around, he'll probably send Fyreslayers into this blob, and it's probably going to be able to kill off quite a few of them. And his dragon has enough range, he can tap that objective, and so with Prime. He'll probably scoot out of there and run and get into range of that objective. I can't remember if they can shoot and if he can use that command ability after a retreat. Probably not, but he might be able to tag it over this way. I can't remember the exact rules, but that was his plan. He was going to try to just tap these 2 models against the objective and take that one from me. So pretty big roll off that was probably going to determine the game, and we won it 3-1 for Chaos. And so at that point we called the game, because it looked like it was going to be over at that point. We'd clear off Prime, and we'd push forward onto his objective here. Since I could get run from this thing, I could probably just run my rats and just score enough in range, not even have to charge, and if I wanted to, just stay there, and we would take that objective. So good game overall. It was. I think we disrupted their game plan, which was, highly mobile dragon in Prime, causing havoc in our backlines. And when he dropped all those Nurgle back here, and it took him, 2 turns to clear them out, maybe even 3 turns. I think it was turn 3 when those Fyreslayers finally cleared them out. That it really it kept that one unit pinned. And being able to get the charge on the Fyreslayers over here was pretty critical, I think, too, because that removed that big threat. So, good game. Having that many rats in a 1,000-point list is hard to deal with, but so is this many Fyreslayers. A couple things went our way, a couple things went their way. In the end, I think it came down to a dice roll there in the last turn. It would have been a lot closer if they had gotten the dice roll. I think with us winning that priority, it was clearly in hand. We'd score quite a few points here, probably all of them, and get far enough ahead that they wouldn't have a chance to come back. So, all right, fun list there. 2v2 game. Team games are always fun. I love team tournaments. Hopefully, when all this COVID stuff is over, we can get back to some tournament reports. Get in maybe a tournament GT as well. That'd be a lot of fun. So, all right, guys, had fun with this battle. We'll catch you next time.